Hi everyone, welcome to Travel Massive Live and today's webinar on responsible tourism. Today we have invited 3 responsible tourism professionals to share their stories and hopefully inspire a bigger positive change in the world. In this webinar, basically you can discover other projects, you can meet other green entrepreneurs, you can also get ideas to build your own sustainable tourism project. Before I start with the introduction with our 3 lovely speakers today, I would just like to share a few housekeeping rules. This webinar is recorded, so everyone here and who registered will receive the link to the recording afterwards. Also, please use the chat box to introduce yourself, to share anything you want to share during our talks. Also post any questions to our speakers and we'll get back to the questions after the 3 presentations. Okay, to introduce our 3 speakers today, we have Adrienne Lee joining us from Toronto. She is the Director of Global Impact at Tourism Cares. She's going to tell us a little bit more about harnessing the transformative power of travel. We have Arianna Nicoletti, co-founder of Green Fashion Tours and Circular Economy Tours. She's going to tell us about bringing together sustainable tourism and sustainable consumption. And we have Diana Koerner, Marketing and Communications Representative for Chumbe Island Coral Park. She's going to share more about financing, conservation, and environmental education through ecotourism. Okay, if we're ready, Adrienne, we can start with you. Oh, just unmute yourself. Yes. Perfect. I think we can hear you now.
Perfect.
Good. I will share your presentation and then you can start. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you so much to the Travel Massive community for having us here today. I know we're in some trying times, and so we really appreciate you taking the time to listen in on our Responsible Travel webinar today. So like Maria said, I'm Adrienne Lee. I'm the Director of Global Impact for Tourism Cares. On the next slide, Tourism Cares, we are a 501c3 independent industry-supported nonprofit organization. We were founded by the United States Tour Operators Association and the National Tour Association 17 years ago and have since grown to over 160 different travel and tourism members. Our membership is an all-inclusive membership. We make up the entire industry, anywhere between tour operators, transportation, airlines, cruise lines, DMOs, media, you name it, hoteliers, you name it. And we really want to bring the entire industry together to look at the transformative power of travel and how we can work with our different members on their sustainability strategies to really progress the industry forward together. So Tourism Cares, we facilitate the tourism industry's ability to successfully work with destinations and local communities to help empower the industry with expertise, guidance, resources, partnerships, and marketplace access that can forge a sustainable future for our businesses and yours. And on the next slide, so why do we do this? Well, the World Travel and Tourism Council has stated that we're going to need to absorb 400 million more travelers into our supply chains over the next 10 years. That's adding to the already 1.4 billion travelers out there. Now, that's a lot of stress on local communities, destinations, infrastructure, and the environment. But there's an upside to this. Oh, sorry, one more back, Maria. There is an upside to this. The tourism industry is also an incredible equalizer. It creates dignified livelihoods for all genders. It is one of the largest exports, second only to mining, and it's a vital source of income for many developing countries. 20 of the 40 least developed countries uses tourism as either their main export or their second main export. Next slide. So we want to be able to use that transformative power of travel to really invest in local communities. These communities are really the tourism industry's main assets. And if we don't take care of them, we don't have a future for our industry in the future. So we depend on these communities. We want to make sure that communities are building their tourism products from the ground up to be able to host travelers so we can better further our industry and our planet. So we really see this as a symbiotic relationship. If we bring all stakeholders together, we can collectively focus on the social and environmental impact we can have in local destinations. Local communities are able to diversify their markets through tourism. By working with nonprofit organizations and community associations, we can really leverage the economic benefit of tourism and work with communities to plan for the type of tourism that they really want to host in their homes. Companies benefit from differentiated product development. We're addressing the demand for more authentic travel, and really help looking at how we can create that cross-cultural connection with communities. If we're able to build these products directly with communities, we're also creating more sustained tourism products for the future as well. So Tourism Cares, we use the Sustainable Development Goals as our guideposts for impact. The tourism industry is the only industry that touches all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, either directly or indirectly. We also know that the SDGs can be daunting, hard to digest, hard to navigate. So we work with our members to identify and prioritize specific SDGs that work with their business goals and help them internalize them and embed these into their business practices. We do this through a series of blended learning journeys throughout the year, as well as through digital learning platforms that we provide to our members. So what is Tourism Cares doing in the tourism industry to further the Sustainable Development Goals? Well, one of our programs is, on the next slide, our Meaningful Travel platform. So this is a digital learning platform that is really a clearinghouse for all resources, policies, white papers, research on responsible and sustainable travel. We host information on this platform so that our members don't have to go to 100 different sites looking for this information. It's all built into this platform for them to access at any time. It can be accessed online, and it's also a downloadable digital app that you could take anywhere with you to train and retain information. And this is a little bit what it looks like. So each of these modules takes a deep dive into different responsible, sustainable travel topics, also looking at how to progress the Sustainable Development Goals through the tourism industry. So really looking at topics around animal welfare, child welfare, human trafficking in our supply chain, and really looking at how we can build these policies and practices into our business value chains, and working directly with nonprofits to help us do that. And why did we build this program? Well, as one of our previous participants in this Travel Massive webinar series had explained, Impact Travel Alliance, they're one of our association members, and they had commissioned a report that had stated that more people wanted to travel more responsibly, but over half didn't know how. So we really created this platform as a B2B tool to help our members be able to find these meaningful travel opportunities and embed them into their practices so that they can offer these to their customers. So on the next slide, you'll see we've also built in a meaningful travel map into our meaningful travel platform. So again, this is a clearinghouse of nonprofit organizations and community associations that are offering experiences on the realm of tourism to help diversify their income to further their either education, environmental, gender equality work around the world. These organizations have been vetted by Tourism Cares and are continuously monitored and supported by Tourism Cares. And so again, access to our members to use this as a B2B tool to include more of these community practices into their supply chains. We also have in-person learnings as well. So this is blended learning journeys that take classroom learnings right into the field. We're holding our next 2 summits, one in Lake Tahoe in May and one in Colombia in September, and both will focus and be themed around different sustainable development goals. So Tahoe will focus on climate action and Colombia will look at peace through tourism. And we hope that you can join us there. And should you have any questions, my email is adrienne.lee@tourismcares.org. And thank you so much for listening to me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very interesting. If anyone has any questions for Adrienne or for Tourism Cares, use the chat box and we will get back to them after all the presentations. Arianna, it's your turn. Tell us your story and the story of Green Fashion Tours.
So, hi everyone. Thank you, Maria. So I will open my presentation now. Here. Can you see that? Okay, so if you can all hear me. My name is Arianna and I'm the founder of Green Fashion Tours and of Circular Economy Tours, which are 2 related projects which I founded in Berlin. And yeah, so they are projects working between 3 sectors, which are sustainable tourism or tourism, fashion, and education. Our purpose, so you also hear our big SDG, responsible consumption and production, is that of empowering consumers in a better consumption patterns and in knowing what are the alternatives in their cities. And we really believe that the 3 sectors we are working in can be a force for change in consumption and production. And we also believe that people can actually be extremely empowered through the power of human connection. This is also a little bit how everything started. You can see me in this picture in my store, which I closed in 2017, but this was one of the first tours we actually ran. Yeah, so at the time I had this sustainable fashion concept store. I realized that consumers, they would really buy more sustainably if they would know where to find sustainable fashion in their cities, but also if they would have a kind of emotional connection to the clothes and to the people who made them. And so that's how Green Fashion Tour started, really to give visibility to stores and to designers that are working in an alternative way than fast fashion, but also to kind of try to transform consumption patterns through an education which goes through inspiration. And Green Fashion Tour, I mean, you're all very familiar with the term tour, but of course a Green Fashion Tour is not about sightseeing, is more about experiencing what fashion is and what can the alternative be, is about talking, focusing on the ecological and also social issues connected to the fashion industry, but is of course also about getting to know people, getting to know designers and change makers personally, is about developing this emotional connection to the fashion industry. And in order to make that, we need storytelling, a very good storytelling. So that's why we also don't go to every store or that we find good, but we need really people, designers who can tell their story. And we need guides, our guides that can really be a medium between consumers or future professional students, for example, between their way of seeing the industry and the alternatives that we are visiting. And in order to have these people, of course, we choose our guides between professionals. So they are all already designers. They all experience already what is about working in the fashion industry, and they can tell their story together with the story we want to tell in general, together with mediating between the designers we visit and the topics we want to talk about. So this is our way of educating, try to inspire to a transformation, and not just from top to bottom, just say this is right and this is wrong. Of course, we also have more educational formats for students and future professionals, such as design thinking or innovation thinking workshops or knowledge sessions. They are like very active sessions where we create smart teams, and the students, they have really fast to find solution how to change their consumption patterns, or how to create a change in the institutions they work within or they study within. We have publish every year Green Fashion City Map. This year we could add our third map, so we are for Berlin to our 6th edition, but we are active now in 3 cities, so Berlin, Hamburg and Munich. And this map is not only a way to spread the word and make sustainable fashion accessible for consumers, but is also our way of empowering the local communities. So to make visible these sustainable local communities in the 3 cities where we are. Of course, the map is also online, so people can visit the website and find these stores while browsing through our website, and they don't have to have the paper printed map, which we anyway find very cool. And Circular Economy Tours is a kind of daughter project from Green Fashion Tours. Is the same way of presenting and of inspiring people to be more circular in their consumption patterns, but also in the way they choose what to support with their consumption. And in this case, we talk more and we visit projects in different fields. So for example, urban gardening, recycling materials, upcycling furniture. We visit zero waste kitchen projects and so on. So it's a bit brighter and also has a bit wider community and a bit wider audience as well. And something we really learned is the importance to have key partners working. So we have we really put a lot of effort in finding partners in all 3 sectors, so in the fashion industry, in the tourism industry, but also in the social entrepreneurship, and in creating a network. We have a network of more than 200 entrepreneurs at the moment, and yeah, so we really believe more in collaboration than in competition. This is one of the most important learnings from my entrepreneurial experience till now so far. So thank you. I hope I didn't went out of my 6 minutes, but yeah, so feel free to write all your questions. I'm super happy to answer to them within this webinar, or just write to us, yeah, visit us at us, whatever, write to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Arianna. That was also very interesting. I already see some questions in the chat box, so keep them coming, guys. We will get back to them at the end of the webinar. Also, Adrienne and Arianna, if you want to share some links to the things you talk about in the chat box, you can do that. But we will also include all the links mentioned in the webinar recap that we sent out to all participants. Okay, Diana, it's your turn. Tell us more about what you're doing.
Yes, wait, I will share my screen. Okay, 1 second. Yes, okay. Yes, so good afternoon from Zanzibar. I'm going to present the case of Chumbe Island Coral Park, where we have a unique model of financing conservation and environmental education through ecotourism. So first, a few words about my person. My name is Diana. I'm a sustainable tourism consultant, originally from Germany, but I've been living and working in the Indian Ocean region for the past 4 years, and recently located from Seychelles to Zanzibar together with my partner, where we work for Chumbe Island Coral Park. So the location of Chumbe Island, Zanzibar is off the east coast of Africa, close to Tanzania coast. And Chumbe Island is off the west coast of Zanzibar, so about a 50 minutes boat ride. So for the 6 minutes of the presentation, I thought I'd give you 6 main points or things you should know and remember about Chumbe Island. So the first one is that we are the first financially self-sustainable marine protected area in the world, and actually one of only 2 of these in the world currently. Our founder, a German aid worker, came to Zanzibar and discovered Chumbe Island in the early 1990s, and then fought very hard to have Chumbe Island registered as a not-for-profit company, and to have 55 hectare of a coral reef sanctuary and marine protected area registered. So it's now IUCN Class 2 protected area, so it means it's a no-take zone. There's no fishing or no harmful commercial activity within the park. And also you see it on the photo, we have a forest reserve, so that's 16.67 hectare, yes, of protected forest land as well. And through the financing through ecotourism, we are able to really ensure the monitoring, the patrolling, the surveillance and enforcement within the marine protected area. The second point is, as I said, is that everything is possible and financed through ecotourism. So on the island, we have 7 eco bungalows, which can cater for up to 18 tourists. But we also have day visitors that come, but we have this carrying capacity of 18 people. The eco bungalows are really unique, and as a sustainable tourism consultant, it's really, yeah, I'm really in love with them. You can see on the drawing that they have a very unique design. So they are all equipped with solar panels for electricity and hot water. You have rainwater collection. So basically the rainwater runs down the roof, is collected and filtered, and then used for the shower and for the sink. And then the grey water runs out and goes into grey water filtration. We also have a composting toilet, which gets emptied every year during maintenance season, and the compost is then also used. And very importantly, there is this unique tropical, locally inspired building code. So it means that there's no fans or no air conditioning, because the way the lodges are built, there is a natural ventilation and a natural airflow. So it makes it really special, and you kind of feel like you immersed in nature as well. On the island, we of course also have restaurant and all the facility for the guests to enjoy the locally sourced food. And then we have daily activities, guided tours with the rangers in the marine park, or walking through the forest reserves, or going through for night patrols as well. The third point is that we have a near to pristine coral reef. So through the 25 years of protection as a marine protected area, we have really been able to sort of safeguard a large diversity of hard corals and very healthy corals. So as you know, around the world, corals are under threat from climate change effects, and many of them are experiencing bleaching. But the reef around Chumbe is really still in a very good shape. And you can also see that sort of the signs of a healthy ecosystem. We have more than 500 species of fish, and we have hawksbill and green turtles resident to the reef, and then also sharks and rays coming in and dolphins swimming by. So it's a very diverse snorkel. And then around the coral rack forest, so this protected area is also home to the largest land-living crab in the world, the coconut crab, which can be quite scary because it's really very big. So we have a very large population on the island, and then the guests who go on guided night walks can sort of discover and observe the crabs when they walk around. Number 4 is our incredible environmental education program. So I was mentioning initially that Chumbe is built around these 3 pillars, where basically ecotourism finances the conservation efforts and the environmental education. So this has really been one of the core works since the beginning. And over the years, we've trained more than 6,500 school kids from local communities, that come over for the day. Many of them have never swam or snorkeled before, so they have really an eye-opening, unique experience where they see the reefs for the first time, and where they have a very hands-on approach to learn about conservation and ecotourism on the island and in the water. We also work with teachers, with more than 1,200 teachers over the years, where we help them to integrate issues of conservation and ecotourism into their curriculum. And then, of course, also with other community members, so fishermen, government representatives. There are different outreach events that we organize throughout the year. We're very proud to say that we have a near to completely local team. Obviously myself, I'm not local, and neither is my partner or our conservation manager, but the rest of the nearly 50 people team is all local. Many of the employees are from local communities and have been with Chumbe for many years. So they're really part of the Chumbe family, have learned and been trained on the island, and have become over the years real ambassadors for conservation, for nature protection within their communities as well. And last but not least, our main message is really that we need more private parks around the world. As you know, there are many protected areas around the world, but often they remain paper parks. So they are registered, and on paper they exist, but the actual implementation, the actual enforcement is not there. So with these private parks like Chumbe Island, you really can ensure that the money goes where it's most needed, and that you can support biodiversity, conservation measures, and have this local impact of creating jobs and income opportunities for communities, and also have like an educational experience for the tourists. So in this example, we really need the right kind of tourists who want to support this project and have it for the long term. So Chumbe over the years has won many awards and has quite a recognition in the field. So we're also very happy to share best practices and exchange with other private parks or with other areas that wish to develop similar models. Yeah, asante sana from all the team for having us this afternoon. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you. Let's get to the questions. We do have a few in the chat box, but if you have any others, please share them here. I think we can start with Adrienne. We had a question from Lynn asking, will you do any virtual events?
Oh, sorry, Maria. Virtual events. We do have webinars planned throughout the year. So to just continue to check out the tourismcares.org website for more webinar updates. We usually revolve them around the United Nations different days and have different guest speakers that are experts within certain sustainable development goals. We usually hold them about 4 times a year. So I would just say sign up for a newsletter to find out the latest and stay up to date on what we're doing.
Awesome. One more question for you. Let me see. Elena is asking, what do you do during the volunteer day? What are the main activities? Are locals heavily involved?
Locals are heavily involved. So we always work with local partners, local nonprofit organizations. We really want the directive of the work that we're doing on the ground to be directed by local communities. So in Tahoe, we have a number of really wonderful community leaders involved in our volunteer day. We're still sort of planning what that day will look like, but all of the programs that we do on the ground are led by local community members.
Awesome. Any other questions for Adrienne? Post them in the chat box. I think Jane is asking Arianna, because this was posted during her presentation. Arianna, would you recommend any training courses in sustainable tourism?
I actually don't know any, so I cannot recommend anything. But maybe it was a question for Adrienne. Actually, are they doing? No? I think there's a lot online. I think also here close to Berlin, there's a master on sustainable tourism, which is supposed to be very good. there's a bachelor in tourism and then this master. I didn't study that. I come from fashion industry and fashion studies. So, but what I heard, and I mean, we get contacted by a lot of students or ex-students, is that this one course in Eberswalde should be very good. But I mean, they don't have an online version of it, so you have to move to Germany.
Also, as part of your tours, you implement the educational part. So this is
yes.
also
So our training is specifically more about sustainable fashion and social and environmental issues linked to this industry. So I couldn't say we do trainings about sustainable tourism. But also, of course, we train our teams in other cities how to run the business in their cities. So this is, we can also say, kind of a sustainable tourism business course training we have. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. Diana, we have a question for you in the chat box. Actually, we also have a person that have been to Chumbe Island as well. So they shared some experiences in the chat box. If you can see that, that's wonderful. We have a question from Akmal. How do you market Chumbe Island? How travelers are finding out the information about the place, your programs, etc.?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. And that will actually be my key focus over the next months. So we work with local agencies here in Zanzibar, but of course also through online booking mechanisms. Booking.com, for example, but of course would favor very much more direct booking. So we are going to reach out to a lot more bloggers. We've had many journalists come to Chumbe over the years. We've had documentaries as well. We've had key people or key conservationists like Jane Goodall who came and did a documentary. So I mean, this is always continuous work. So it's about sort of getting the message out there and keeping on top of having the right sort of media representatives coming over, and then also having strong links with agencies, and also getting placed on more, let's say, the right sort of sustainable, responsible traveler platforms. So that's also something that we're looking into more as more of these offers are appearing now. And I did want to meet more of them last week in Berlin, but sadly that didn't work out. But we are in contact with some of them and hoping that through that we can get some more bookings as well.
Okay, one other question.
But if you have any ideas, please let me know. Sorry.
Yes, I'm not sure if you can answer that, but Karsten is asking, are you aware of the water dam project in Selous? And what is the opinion among Tanzanians about it?
Sorry, Karsten, I'm relatively new to Zanzibar, so I'm not aware. I wouldn't be able to say anything about it at this point in time. Sorry, but I can get in touch should I hear anything, local opinions.
Okay, we have already some people sharing sustainable tourism courses in the chat, so that's a great crowdsourcing power that we have. We also, I noticed that we have a lot of people share different examples and thoughts about the current situation with the COVID-19 on the tourism industry. So I don't think we can actually skip that topic. So maybe if the three of you can share with a few words, how is this impacting your businesses? And yeah, what do you see is going to happen in this year? Adrienne, if you want to start.
For sure. So Tourism Cares, we're mostly a B2B business. So we work with companies to advance their sustainability strategies. And really for us, we're feeling the impact with ITB being canceled. And that's such a huge community for us. A lot of our members go there. I was actually in Colombia last week with ProColombia on site assessments for our upcoming summit in September. September. And I know our partners at ProColumbia had planned on being at ITB and exhibiting there. So I think we're all feeling it around the world, but continuously monitoring and how we can support each other, and really monitoring to the grassroots partners that we work with around the world to see if they're impacted by less bookings, et cetera, and how we can sort of support them through this.
Arianna,
Yes, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, yeah, for us it has a big impact. So first of all, we had many cancellations and we don't have many new tour requests or program requests for the next month, which is kind of worrying us, of course, but we also hope that the situation will adjust itself and that not so many European countries or world countries have to react as Italy is doing right now, closing all the borders and keeping people at home, which is really sad and also very worrying at the moment. My thoughts to all Italian friends who are forced to be at home at the moment. But yes, we really hope that after this down, there will be an up again. So people in a couple of months will have even more interest in traveling and exploring new places. So finger crossed that these phases will not be too long.
Hopefully, yes. Diana?
Well, yes, very similar here in the sense that we were very disappointed about ITB being cancelled. We had high hopes for that. And then the situation here, the bookings are very low. Luckily, there has not been any case in Zanzibar, or very few in Africa, but I mean, this can change. And the fear here is that the health system is not at all prepared for it. So this is something, of course, that we are also monitoring. And as there are many European tourists coming to Zanzibar, there will sure be severe effects. So for us, it's looking maybe more at a more regional market over the next months to strengthen that, to try to sort of cope with it. Luckily, as I mentioned before, we close the island 2 months a year in April and May for maintenance. So this year is quite convenient. So hopefully things will calm down a little bit over these 2 months, but we don't know. So we are just as worried as everyone else, and it will directly affect the project. Yeah, we have to see and hopefully share ideas and how we can deal with it.
Awesome. Just to wrap this up in a more positive note, tell us in 1-2 sentences what is big for you in 2020, and what are your goals and aspirations for your projects? Adrienne?
For me, I just got back from a 2-week site visit with our partners Impulse Travel and ProColumbia in Colombia, and it was an incredible 2 weeks. There are so many innovative, community-led organizations and tours that are really retelling the narrative and breaking down stereotypes of the country. It was just incredible. It was such a great experience to not only learn, but to unlearn a lot of the things that I think are perpetuated in North American media. And it was just so wonderful and inspiring to hear so many personal stories on these different community-led tours that are really using art, innovation, culture, gastronomy to really just rebuild this beautiful country. So I'm very excited to host our Meaningful Travel Summit there later this year.
Amazing. Arianna, what about you?
For us, 2020 is the year of strengthening up our local teams in Munich and Hamburg to make these amazing women. We work already, we are a team of 15 women, all women, is amazing. I really want to impact the life of these people in a way that they can really make a business out of the business I created, and see if we can have different green fashion tours detached, let's say, projects, and that everyone can really put their souls, their ideas, and their passions in these, the best they can, without always having to look at Berlin and what we do. So I really believe that the future of green fashion tours is to have green fashion tours everywhere in the world, and it doesn't have to be my project, but should be the project of the communities in the different places. And this we are starting now, creating transfer structures for Germany. And yeah, this is our aim for 2020.
Amazing. I wish you all the best luck. And Diana, what about you?
For Chumbe Island, it will be really about sort of continuing the amazing work that has been done over the last 25 years, from a marketing perspective, to attract more of the right kind of tourists who really come because they understand the project, they want to learn about it, and they want to directly contribute, and also giving them more, let's say, even better experience when they come to the island. So to look at some product enhancement as well, and also creating more linkages with the local communities, to really sort of increase the impacts that we have around Zanzibar even further, and really spread the message so that there's also more locals from Zanzibar who can learn about the project and can proudly sort of promote it as well. Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us for this webinar. Everyone who is watching us live, we will send the contacts of our speakers over email along with the recording. You can join our future Travel Massive Live webinars. We do have, I don't know if you already see it, we do have a live show scheduled for tomorrow where we're gonna keep discussing the impact, the effect of the COVID-19 outbreak on the tourism industry. We are going to do that every week, every Thursday. So please join us and share your stories, because I already saw a lot of stories and thoughts in the chat box. So please join us tomorrow, and for any other live webinars. Thank you all for joining. This was it for the Responsible Tourism webinar. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. All the best for everyone.
Thank you, everyone.